Legends. The podcast about urban legends. Meet your host, that's right. Neil Chris Huntley. Yeah. Hello, it's Urban Legends, the podcast about urban legends. Hello, welcome to Urban Legends. I am fantastic singer and also recently won third place in the county carnival for my flapjack recipe, Mr. Chris Flynn. And with me, as always, you wouldn't want anyone else, it is Celene Dion's high school sweetheart, Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi, Neil. How's your week been?
All right. Yeah, no. It's been okay. It was,
you enjoyed the
days getting longer.
Lighter evenings?
Yeah, evenings
You've
getting
been
lighter.
going out a lot, have you? Enjoying the sunlight?
Yeah, well, I've been going back to the office, so,
Dear.
that's been good. I don't know.
Okay.
Change as good as the rest and all that.
Are you willing to talk about your high school romance with Celene Dion at all? Or, I mean, it's a long time ago now.
I mean, it's that ground we want to get tread over. It's she was an older lady.
She was your teacher at the time, wasn't she?
And it's purely fictitious retelling.
Completely true retelling.
Yeah.
So would you say she was your first love?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. You know, I mean, with that amazing voice.
Yeah, I mean, she was just doing karaoke down a local pub, wasn't she? When you were seeing her?
You know, I ran away to Canada from Brighton, apparently, and
wasn't it during
stayed there for long enough to go to school and form a relationship with another woman?
Was it during your years? You had a
the wild years, the lost years.
That was the wonder years. When you had that, your secondary school or high school had an exchange program with a school in Quebec. Well,
City. No, we'd gone over for a trip to Quebec, and
you got lost,
and I got lost, and
lost in the snowdrift.
And everyone was speaking French, so I, didn't know what was going on, and they thought about trying to find me, and then reflected, and decided it wasn't worth the effort. So,
your parents had signed a permission slip, hadn't they?
Well, yeah, exactly.
So they had no liability.
It was insured, so frankly,
and the teacher thought I can have 2 seats on the way back.
Yeah, exactly. Stretch out a bit,
and
make a bit of room for yourself. Treat yourself, Tom.
You got yourself down the social services, got yourself a place in school, I believe, made an igloo to live in.
Yeah.
And that's when you met a young 48-year-old Celene Dion.
Probably up-and-coming singer, yeah. Just a few years off before the Titanic soundtrack. I think she was still doing, I don't know, did she do Eurovision Song Contest or something like that for you?
She represented Switzerland, I believe.
Is that so? Well, there you go.
Yeah, so it was around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you went to Switzerland?
I got to go and see Switzerland. That was good.
Did you do some skiing?
It went to my head. Yeah.
Did you get to third base?
None of your business, sir.
So what happens? Right, you said it went to your head. So did you change, and she didn't want to be with you anymore, or was she changing? She was meeting big stars like Billy Ray Cyrus, Dustin Hoffman, all the big ones.
All the greats. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I was young and foolish, and I let it all go to my head, to be honest with you. Looking back.
Do you feel like you pushed her away?
Yeah.
Do you regret it?
I felt like I'd become the biggest star for some reason. Just for my natural charisma.
You're nothing without me.
That would push through the lack of any discernible talent.
You were, do you know what? In many ways, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah. 20 years later, I would have been...
You would have been fine. You'd have your own TV series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just a trailblazer too early. That was what it was.
Well, soft in the way, isn't it? Soft in the way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, have you thought about getting back in touch with her?
No, you can't step to the same river twice, Chris. Just leave it be.
Fair enough. So, Neil, this week we are looking at a sort of crazy creature myth, and it's from South Africa. And I believe it originated with the Zulu people from there. So they're a famous tribe, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're sort of well known.
Warrior people back in the day. So I'm going to start off with Wikipedia, but there isn't much on here, but there's loads and loads elsewhere. So the thing is, this actually looks like it's a fairly well-known thing in South Africa.
It feels like it's a very, very common folk tale in
to the extent that it appears in a lot of tabloid newspapers, people blaming. I should say what it's called. It's the Tokoloshe. The Tokoloshe. And yes, it appears in sort of tabloid headlines, people blaming Tokoloshes for doing stuff. So
that was what Shaggy based his song on.
What?
It wasn't
Tokoloshe.
It was Tokoloshe. It wasn't exactly it.
Maybe. So, in Zulu or Xhosa mythology, Tokoloshe, and then it's got lots of different derivatives, but I won't go through them, is a dwarf-like water sprite. It's considered a mischievous and evil spirit that can become invisible by drinking water or swallowing a stone. Can't we all?
I don't like to, though, passing those stones out.
Yeah, and you don't like drinking water, do you?
No, don't like hydrating.
You drink powdered water. Tokoloshe are called upon by malevolent people to cause trouble for others. It's at its least harmful, a Tokoloshe or Tokoloshe can be used to scare children, but its power extends, like every myth, its power extends to causing illness or even death of its victim. The creature might be banished by a pastor, especially with an apostolic calling, who has the power to expel it from the area. It is also considered part of superstition and is often used in a satirical manner as a reference to overcome. So,
it's putting having a little bit of fun with it, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to defeat the Tokoloshe if you want to get a goal back. My team. I think that's the perfect way to use it, isn't it?
Absolutely. It sounds a little bit like Gremlin at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a sort of like if I can use I don't know, is it a Western equivalent? I don't know about Gremlins. Yeah.
So, mythology. The advent of the phantom Tokoloshe came about through Bantu folklore to explain why people inexplicably died while sleeping in their rondavels at night. Traditionally, these people slept on the floor on grass mats encircling a wood fire that kept them warm during the sub-freezing cold winter nights on the high veld in the rarefied air. Yeah, it does get cold in Africa, people. They never realised the fire was depleting the oxygen levels, leaving noxious carbon monoxide, which is heavier than pure air, and sinks to the bottom. Eventually, it was realised that anyone who happened to be sleeping in an elevated position escaped the deadly curse of the Tokoloshe, which was described as a short man about hip high who randomly stole one's life in the night unless they were lifted the heights of the bed. Right, now, that's some bad science right there, Neil. The carbon monoxide being the thing that was killing people because they're not in a sealed container, first of all. They would have some kind of...
You'd have some sort of ventilation, you would assume.
Well, you'd have a door to get into it. You'd have a chimney, above the hearth, like every single culture does in the world. I don't buy that this is carbon monoxide poisoning. Neil, what do you think?
I don't know how thoroughly they've investigated that. I suppose it's possible. It's like there might be a slightly higher rate of, but as you say, I would have thought if the room was ventilated, I'm not really sure how well carbon monoxide kind of ventilates out of it. But yeah, you would expect the whole point of having a hearth is that you have.
But it's not like they're pumping a car exhaust in there. Do you know what I mean? It's a wood fire.
No, I do know. No, to be fair, I've heard of if you bring a bar, say. It's happened. There was a tragic accident where a couple bought a barbecue indoors, and then went to sleep, and it filled the room with carbon monoxide.
You would kind
killed them.
You would kind of think, though,
that was kind of like a barbecue that had basically gone out. So just even then, there's still the rate of carbon monoxide was enough to sort of.
You would kind of think, though, that in the 50,000 years that preceding which the Zulu people have been there, they probably would have figured this out.
I think it clearly wouldn't be enough to kill everyone who was in it. It might just be like an elevated risk of carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that.
But again, they've been there a long time, and they've been living in shelters for a long time, and they've had fire a long time.
Oh yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. It's just that's what they're claiming. So I don't know.
So some Zulu people and other South African tribes are still superstitious when it comes to things like the supposedly traditional folklore, a hairy creature created by a witch doctor to harm his enemies, also known to bite off sleeping people's toes. According to legends, the only way to keep the Tokoloshe away at night is to put a few bricks beneath each leg of one's bed. So, not sure.
He's not a fan of climbing or jumping, then, the Tokoloshe?
No. Well, they're short, aren't they?
Yeah, so, jump.
Here we go. So this is almost like zombie-like. This. So
bring a ladder. Tokoloshe's not invented ladder technology.
No, they don't have ladder technology.
You can rule that out.
Yeah.
Siege engines. Tokoloshe warfare. You get in a castle, you're fine.
Little miniature forklift trucks.
Yeah.
So to create one, so the client, usually a jealous person. We've all met those in our lives, haven't we, Neil?
Certainly have.
Yeah. Will approach an evil witch doctor, shaman, or sanguma to take vengeance on someone. The client has to promise the soul of a loved one. God, this client's a right shit.
Yeah.
You can have my kid's soul, and I want, because this bastard's got more cows than me.
Well, at least his toe's bitten off, preferably dies of carbon monoxide poison.
But you can't choose who. So it's just round night. You can have one of my loved ones.
Roll the dice on that one.
Whatever. Hopefully it's the child I hate the most.
All of them.
And the reason being because the Tokoloshe will choose the soul it decides to take. Fair enough. You don't want my soul particularly because it's withered.
It's withered away, yes.
It's withered. It's like those.
It's gone to naught.
It looks like those pictures of lungs that you get on cigarette packets. The witch doctor locates a dead body to be possessed, piercing the eye socket and brain with a hot iron rod so it cannot think for itself. Clever. And sprinkling it with a special powder like they did with Super Ted.
See, I like that.
Shrinking the body.
No, I like this now. This is good. This is good advanced zombie technology. Because they're not just letting them crawl about just like brains or whatever and start thinking for themselves.
None of that.
You can start training them in like one of those Romero movies, one of the later ones. So I want to gouge down its eyes.
Well, so it can't think for itself.
Might as well.
Well, that's the best
form of attachment.
Best way into the brain, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough.
So they sprinkle it with a special powder. A spotty man from outer space sprinkles it with special powder, shrinking the body.
Secret ingredient is MSG.
MSG and salt.
Yeah.
The Tokoloshe is then let loose to terrorize its target, taking its payment of the soul of the client's loved one weeks, months, or maybe years later. So that's pretty much it. It's just got where it's influenced, and there's loads of things here, but I'm not going to read through.
So this is quite.
We've got quite a lot to read about as well, different stories.
But just to row back for a second, Chris. So I was just going to assume that these things were just knocked about naturally somewhere in South Africa and caused troubles. But actually, there's different.
But
they're being
created
styles. By a shaman.
Well, one of them saying it's a water sprite, and one of them saying it's created by a shaman. So I don't know.
I don't know who to trust.
Don't know who to trust at all.
Could you defeat them with a magic wand made out of a tree that doesn't exist?
I don't know, man. You need to pop your clogs on and go down to the Harry Potter shop.
A shaman or that Harry Potter shop and see. Yeah.
So, astonishinglegends.com, the Tokoloshe. So let's see what they have to say. This is quite a short article, but there's some more after. Today we visit South Africa for a story about the Tokoloshe, a small and terrifying creature that seriously messes with your ability to have a restful night's sleep. Tokoloshes are a creature from Zulu mythology that inhabit South Africa. These creatures attack you in your sleep and are said to be part of the reason why many people in the Zulu culture used to sleep with their beds raised from the floor. Tokoloshe are described physically in a large variety of ways. One consistent seems to be their small size. Sometimes they are described as small humanoid creatures like gremlins or brownies. Like Girl Guides?
Yeah, don't know what brownie is.
A small
some
girl.
sort of gremlin option.
Other times they are described as more primate-like. These creatures are malevolent and very dangerous. They are said to crawl into sleeping people's rooms and cause all kinds of havoc, from simply scaring them all the way to choking them to death with their long bony fingers.
That escalated, didn't it?
Boo! Ah. They seem to particularly enjoy scaring children, often leaving them with long scratches on their bodies. One way to keep the Tokoloshe at bay is to put bricks underneath one's bed. This will put you out of their reach and hopefully out of harm's way. So you can't stop them getting in. No alarm system or anything. Nothing.
Yeah,
can't stop them. They're like cat burglars.
It's an abandoned car.
They're like gentlemen cat burglars.
Well, it's a thing though, isn't it? Because generally, I remember an Iranian flatmate of mine talking about this difference because he had this thing that like having your bed being sort of off of the floor is kind of like is something that's obviously not everywhere in the world. And he thought it was just kind of like, he didn't want to sleep too close to the floor because he considered it dirty or something. I was like, I've never really thought about it, to be honest with you. It's just
well, I think that
what you're used to.
It's easier to get in and out of if it's not on the floor. But then also I would say that if you've got rats in Europe, if you've got rats and stuff running around, you want to be up above them. You don't want rats running all over you and giving you plague and shit. And if you're in somewhere more tropical, then you don't particularly want scorpions and snakes all climbing in your bed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true enough.
I think probably where we come from traditionally, we probably slept in nests in trees. But if you go back far enough. But yeah, I mean, if you're on the ground, then anything can kind of get to you, but you're a bit safer if you're up a bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that.
But it's just in case the Tokoloshe travels.
Well, that's exactly where it comes from. That's that's where the beds originated from, and it's echoed through the ages. Tokoloshes are creatures called upon by those with magical abilities, like witches, to wreak havoc and pain in a community. That's nice. Let's have sing as community. One of the ways the witches...
Well, that's what happens, is that Thatcher was possessed by Tokoloshe.
Thatcher was a Tokoloshe.
She didn't put enough bricks under her bed, and just inhabited her like Buffalo Bill that way. Just a skin mask hiding a Tokoloshe and fervent right-wing views.
So one of the ways the witches are able to keep them docile is to cut the hair out of their eyes so they can see and feed it curdled milk. That's slightly different.
Cut the hair out of their eyes?
Give them like one of your 90s haircuts.
Oh, okay. So, but wouldn't they see better if you cut the hair out of their eyes?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. So this is, again, completely opposite to what Wikipedia was saying.
Yeah. They were jabbing out their eyes with a red hot poker earlier.
So they're either jabbing out their eyes with red hot poker or giving them a lovely fringe.
Giving them a haircut and feeding them some curdled milk.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
If a Tokoloshe continues to terrorise a household or community, Sangoma, which is a Zulu witch doctor, is summoned to exorcise the area and or home with the use of muti, a kind of traditional magic practiced by the Sangoma. But why was the Tokoloshe such a prominent and terrifying creature? Why did it only attack the sleeping? Well, there might actually be a very real and terrifying reason. Right, so this is the stuff about gas.
Carbon monoxide again, yeah.
Right, so not reading that. Already had that. So, News 24.
So what I'm taking from this is I can barbecue from my bed as much as I like, as long as I put a few bricks up.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, you'd be fine.
So I know what I'm doing tonight.
No futons. So, news24.com. We've got a article here, which is how to get rid of the Tokoloshe. So I'll describe what it looks like. I've got a little picture here.
I think we need to know, because I suspect I've got a few enemies who are trying to create Tokoloshes to hunt me down.
Oh, I'm one
or
of
a
them.
few after my soul. Yeah.
So the Tokoloshe, yeah, it looks like kind of a little gremlin thing with kind of pointy ears, but I think that could just be artistic.
Yeah.
So it's got an arrow pointing to the eyes. The eyes of the Tokoloshe have been gouged out, but it uses its other senses to find its way around. And this is written by Celene S. Langer. So just giving them a shout out there. It's got a hole in the top of the skull, which was made by the Red Hot Poker. The special power of heat plays a vital part in Zulu magic. So that's different. And its body, much like my own, is withered and grey. The body of a Tokoloshe is far smaller than that of the corpse from which it was made. So, again, got the corpse thing here. So, remedies. Celene S. Langer speaks with Sangoma and gains a few pointers on how to get rid of a Tokoloshe now. I have been fascinated by the myth of the Tokoloshe ever since I was a kid. I first heard of this creature when I noticed a relative of mine had placed their bed on bricks, 2 under each leg. They can't climb high, I was told.
Clearly not.
Are you going to sleep?
2 bricks. No.
Right. Keep shutting your eyes. I don't blame you. I've never seen one myself, but they're very much part of our lives in this country. These creatures are apparently summoned using powerful mutai and they're sent to cause pain and disruption. In investigating the creature, my first port of call wasn't a Sangoma, as you may think. I went to my street corner to speak with the ladies who wait for the Fi-Fi man there. Fi-Fi is a numbers game of luck where you can win small amounts of money. Well, yeah, it's like one of those, like they do the numbers and stuff like the Mafia used to do it, didn't they?
Oh, okay, yeah. With a small price.
It was apparently brought to South Africa by the Chinese of Fi-Fi. And people's choice of numbers depends on what they dreamt the night before. A cow could indicate the number 7, and a chicken could mean play double. It's a simple system.
I don't dream that much about cows and chickens, I must be honest.
You're not in South Africa.
That is true. That is very true.
I don't know what, I doubt they dream of pillow wives, but I do. Because of my pillow wife. How is your pillow wife, by the way?
That's, left me.
Fair
I
enough.
didn't think an animate object could do that, but there you go.
Well,
I'll tell you what, the alimony's
took
killing
off your money as well, didn't it?
Yeah, alimony's killing me. Shocking.
So, a chicken obviously could mean play double. Obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
It varies from what I can tell. I was particularly interested in one dream that was being heavily thrashed out on the corner one day. One of the ladies dreamt she had sexual relations with a handsome white man. Sis G explains it was so real and he was so good. She blushes as the pavement is sent into an uproar of at least 6 women present are adamant that this was the work of a Tokoloshe. Sis G has been on a roll at Fi-Fi of late, and she says she's
just jealous.
Yeah, exactly. Having sexy dreams.
Sexy dreams winning all the Fi-Fi. I think 50 quid this week, yeah. She's a Tokoloshe.
She's been making more money than she usually does. Her friends immediately say that jealous people want to derail her good fortunes.
Oh, dear.
And that this handsome white guy is how they will do it. I shudder as one of the ladies suggests, it will come for you every night until you can't have children anymore. Fucking hell. So, I mean, it's clearly still going on, this Tokoloshe stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never heard a nice thing about Tokoloshe in all my life. I've heard that they're short and hairy. Some even have a bit of a sweet tooth.
I don't ever get short and hairy people.
Well, DeVito-esque people. It's all rather puzzling, as I've also been told that these creatures are tall and have a lust for the taste of blood. A common thread.
That's vampires.
A common thread seems to be their appetite for sex. How exactly would you get rid of a Tokoloshe? I know.
It literally can't even get into bed with you because it's so short. So.
Unless it's tall and has
Is it like the opposite of putting a tie on the doorknob? Is if your bricks are down, Tokoloshe come and knock in. Yeah.
Bricks are down, funds in town.
Yeah.
So how exactly would one get rid of a Tokoloshe? The Daily Sun uses a sangoma from the East Rand to aid its coverage of the supernatural scourge, and often links up with readers who need help. Dudlamanzi Joseph Misumbini has been a practicing sangoma for 10 years, and he's seen it all, Neil.
But a sangoma man and boy, you see things on this beat.
This thing is very real, my man. He chuckles weirdly.
Yeah.
This thing is very weird, my man. It's very real.
He sounds incredibly trustworthy. I'm getting a strong vibe of trust in this guy.
I didn't think so, but I have encountered Tokoloshe many times. And Sangoma explains to me just what happens when you're dealing with this. It's a creature that can't easily be seen with the human eye. It enters your life by taking the form of something familiar. Many times when people come to me, they speak of dreams that involve them having sex with a white man or woman. Rest easy,
It'd take 8 years of training to actually see one of these, though. You know, you wouldn't see it. You're not well trained enough. You need to pay a pro.
As he puts on, like, a Nixon mask.
Yeah.
Like, dead press.
Yeah.
Was it Nixon or was it Reagan?
They all had different ones, didn't they? Oh, okay. One was Nixon, one was Reagan. It was the dead presidents.
Yeah.
I don't know who the other two were.
It was...
FDR and...
Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Robin Williams. The Sangoma explains just what happens when you're dealing with this. I'm not going to do the laughing anymore.
Fair enough.
All right. So and I've just started reading the same sentence again. Rest easy, though, he assures me, that the beings can come for Caucasians too. Maybe you'll dream of sex with a black person. This is what Sis G said happened to her. Miss Mbini said, these creatures are brought to our plane of reality through witchcraft and powerful muti. They are sent by those who are envious and who seek to see those around them fall on hard times. It can be sent from one province to another or just next door. When it comes and is left untreated, businesses, marriages, and even lives can come to an end. And here's a headline, picture of a headline from the Daily Sun, which is priced at £1.80. Wednesday, 7th January 2009. She lost her job. She lost her husband. She lost her house in 6 years of hell, terrorised by a Tokoloshe.
Oh, whammed.
I'm not reading. That's just the headline. That's the banner headline.
Oh,
right. So, back to the article. He's dead serious. The entire time he explains this to me, the mood of our conversation gets more bone-chilling as he recounts to what he's seen before. I've seen cases where the Tokoloshe is in complete control of the person. It inhabits and controls them. People black out and wake up naked in the middle of a field when the Tokoloshe decides to take a rest. I mean, it's a good excuse, isn't it?
It's possessing people now, is it?
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a wide-ranging remit, the Tokoloshe.
I'll say this. I wish we had Tokoloshes because I could have done with something to blame when I woke up naked in that field. Yeah. So that farmer wasn't happy.
That was this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great excuse for getting pissed or doing drugs, isn't it? They have no idea how they got there or what they've been doing, in some cases for days prior. He urges you to reach out as soon as you can if things start going a little pear-shaped for you and your dreams become twisted. You'll know when a Tokoloshe is looking to get you. You'll need to seek the help of a Sangoma quickly. There are a few options you have. A Sangoma can speak with your ancestors and ask them to protect you. This will be done in a session where you may pay and burn incense. Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Here we go. Got to pay.
Can't do it for nothing, Chris.
No. I've got bills. Got bills to pay. Got to eat. I need this Mercedes. I know certain people have used the blood of a black chicken to cleanse a person's body. I don't use a black one, and I never kill the chicken. I just take enough blood to place on my client's face and body, and then I set the chicken free. Oh, that's nice.
I mean, the thing that I haven't mentioned yet, Chris, and I think this shows how on the up and up they are, is actually, the Tokoloshe can also be working actively to stop you from getting the wealth that you deserve. So by simply sharing your wealth with some of these individuals, actually it'll pay back to you tenfold. Yeah, it's like the prosperity Bible or whatever they call it. Yeah, give as much as you can, and God's going to give you millions back. That's how this works.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did, and look at me now.
Yes.
Got a private jet, building a theme park.
The poorer you are, the more you should give, because
Yeah, you're not giving enough.
God, how much you care.
You've got to give all your money away to get money. That's how our neo-capitalist society works.
That's how I got sacked from being an IFA.
So I ask about the bricks, and he says it does work, which is why many people do it. The scary thing is that a Tokoloshe can be amped up or made to work harder to get inside a person. I'm a creeping sad. The thing at the core of all of this is jealousy. The Sangoma says the strongest way to combat this would be to keep positive people around you who will build you up. If that fails, dial Mr. Missambini on South Africa 082 547 0099.
Did you just read out an advertorial for this guy's company?
Yes.
Fucking hell. I don't know. That was something. And I do like the fact that they're fueled by haters by the sounds of it.
They really are, yeah. So you and DJ Khaled must be getting a lot of it.
Yeah.
Must have Tokoloshes attacking your speedboats.
I've got to give this guy a ring. That's probably why I'm not a billionaire yet.
You aren't giving him enough money.
Yeah.
So the last article I'll go through is designinglife.biz. Designinglife.biz. And so I'll skip bits where it looks like where it's not entertaining or I've already
covered it.
Seen it. And this is a gay travel blog.
Yeah, excellent.
So, at some point in your life, you've been envious of someone's success. Neil, would you say that's true of you?
Yeah, I think most people was probably. So that's the case.
Are you
not massively, not sitting there stewing about it, but yeah, sometimes you know.
Are you envious of me?
Oh, hugely.
Because of my upmarket lifestyle.
Your upmarket lifestyle and your mansion you live in.
My easy way on the podding mic.
Charm, yeah.
My conversational style.
So I have to work at it, but it just comes natural to you.
I was born this way, mate. What can I say?
Huge amounts of effort that come into me mumbling shite into a microphone.
Yeah, I was born under a lucky star. What can I say?
Yeah.
Who else have you been jealous of? Are they people in real life, or are they sort of famous people like Sherlock Holmes or Ronald McDonald?
Any fictional character? Yeah, Ronald McDonald, Patrick Bateman.
I don't know that I go.
No, I'm not a particularly envious person. Yeah, you sometimes might have a thing where it's like, whatever. Yeah, I think it's, I don't think that's particularly unnatural, but sitting around stewing about it, I think at the end of the day, you have to realise, like, a mixture of hard work
no
and
one's
luck in anyone's life.
Happy.
No, I would say generally, like, I mean, there's different people have different amounts of kind of like, having to work hard and a mixture of luck as well. We're all lucky in a lot of ways, and
I think the thing is that I think jealousy and stuff. I mean, I can understand why the old Tokoloshe is going to be going big time now, because people on social media and stuff like putting only. I mean, I think there's kind of a push to change it, but people just like putting unrealistic pictures of their lives and stuff up, which make other people feel shit and jealous and that kind of thing. You can imagine them sending a few Tokoloshes their way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it's kind of like, you've got to think whether, measure your own happiness by your own yardstick rather than worrying about what other people are doing.
I think that's exactly it. I mean, I'd like to have a lot of money so I didn't have to work or do stuff that I enjoy, and not have to worry about paying bills. That would be good. But I think contentment is kind of all you've got to go for. If you got a roof over your head, can you afford food? Can you entertain yourself? Are you generally like all right with what's going on?
Well, no, exactly.
And I'm very fortunate that those are the cases for me now. I'm kind of, I'm all right. Like, I don't feel like I'm not very ambitious, man. I don't feel like I've got to get more money. It's kind of, I've got a comfortable enough life, and I can just sit and watch some shit and stroke my cat.
Well, it depends what drives you. I think where it gets unhealthy is where you're just constantly looking up, thinking about, well, I deserve more of that, and not sort of looking around you and thinking actually how lucky you've got it compared to, a lot of other people, which I think a lot of that healthy balance.
Yeah, I think because we've both worked very shit jobs and worked our way up, that probably helps with keeping your feet on the ground a bit. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure a lot of people have that sort of, you should have a good perspective. This is what I would just say. If somebody's kind of like, is feeling like, and I think the thing is as well as kind of like the younger you are, probably, you might not have everything completely together, and you've got probably a bit more time on your side. I'm not saying you shouldn't be ambitious when you're young, but
Well, I mean, I still, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was young, because there were so many things I was interested in. I liked a lot of different things, and it's probably to an extent the same now. I mean, I couldn't say that my career is my dream career, but it pays my bills and stuff. And
it depends what you're driven by as well. I mean, it's kind of like, I usually say at the end of the day, if you've got a reasonably comfortable life, then you're doing well. That's enough. That's enough sometimes.
Yeah. Sorry, bit of talk about jealousy there. So these feelings, although uncomfortable to some, can lead to an insane amount of horrible action by others. In fact, there's an entire field of law devoted to this, when men murder their spouses in a fit of jealous rage. They call it the demon of jealousy. Others call it the green demon. In South Africa, this entity comes in the form of a zombie goblin that will kill you while you sleep. Tokoloshe.
Okay. Do you think Othello had a Tokoloshe?
Maybe, or the Danish equivalent.
Was it?
That was Hamlet, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Othello was a Moor, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah, he was. So I don't think they say exactly where he was from, but yeah, he would have been from sort of like somewhere in Africa.
Just from the Moors, Yorkshire.
Yeah, that would have been it. Yeah, it wouldn't be East Riding. Maybe Iago was a Tokoloshe.
Maybe.
That'd be a bold staging of that.
Well, I mean, if he's a Moor, that was basically anyone from Africa in those days.
Yeah,
so he could well have been a Zulu prince or king. I mean, I don't really want to get into it too much. But first, you must summon the Tokoloshe. Summoning the Tokoloshe is interesting. It's not just a seance, it's not just a voodoo spell, it's a little bit of everything. Upon locating the dead body you wish to get possessed, you must pierce its eye sockets with a red-hot iron and sprinkle the special powder to shrink it, Then it's on its way, demands soul, pass away, they'll die, and that's the price of your jealousy. But who is worth that price? The soul of your mother, grandmother, son? Only the Tokoloshe will get to take what it picks, or pick what it takes, sorry. So invisibility, done that. Scares children, done that. It's described as a brown, hairy dwarf. It speaks with a lisp and often appears naked, but sometimes wears a cloak. The Tokoloshe, here we go. These are some new facts for us, Neil, and I think you're going to enjoy them.
I'm liking the lisp and the cloak.
Well, lisp and a cloak. The Tokoloshe has a single buttock.
So, hang on a second. Has it got an arsehole?
So,
does it have a rectum?
You would assume not.
If it's just a buttock, well, it doesn't have a
motorcycle seat.
I don't think right. Unless I don't think it can be said to have a single buttock.
I mean,
because those things come in pairs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
they're dividing space twixt the rectum of this guy. But because if it's not sort of in half, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think you should get too focused on this because its penis is so long it has to sling it over its shoulder.
Oh.
In other words, the Tokoloshe is packing some meat, which he uses to make love to his master witch. Considering he loves milk and other foods, he is rewarded accordingly. So,
I don't know what that means.
No.
I don't want to know what that means.
If you're trying to trap one, get a witch doctor who can sprinkle a mystery powder created from the corpse of an already deceased Tokoloshe.
He's going to have a hell of a job wrapping that up.
He sprinkles the powder at the entrance of the farm where the Tokoloshe steals his preferred cow's milk. Upon entering, the Tokoloshe becomes paralysed and trapped by the witch doctor. So how do you know if you're being attacked? I would just like to say, Designing Life, you're leaning into the stereotypes by talking about him having a penis that he can sling over his shoulder. How do you know if you're being attacked by the Tokoloshe? Some people claim night terrors are the first sign. Others say it's the dreams you have. The interesting fact is dreams are often good. In fact, they're so good it feels like your luck's changing. You might dream about a young, handsome man sweeping you off your feet only to get it on in a fiery wave of passion, the opposite for a man. You'll sleep like a baby with great dreams. You'll never see the creature sneaking into your room, climbing into your bed and stealing your life away. So, fire stuff again.
So, there's quite a few layers to this. So,
an evil blaze surrounded his body, but he didn't sustain any injury. Tokoloshe, Vutha Terror. Horny little devil always finds me, says terrified woman. Tokoloshe tracker in my bum. So the Daily Sun seems to be a bit of a National Enquirer or Weekly World News kind of thing.
They've seen a bat boy or two in their times. But hang on, I'm just digesting a bunch of this stuff. So are they inferring that he's like giving you these dreams?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like a Freddy Krueger as well as being
sexy Freddy Krueger.
Sexy Freddy Krueger with a lisp and a K and a couch dong.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot there, Neil.
There is. It's too much, if anything.
There's too much.
I don't even know where to go with this. And he's also feeding off of the jealousy of others. So,
yeah, and he's either a water sprite or a zombie,
or some I don't know, fucking yeah. I can't even describe this yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to him. He's an interesting.
Some witch's satanic fuckboy. Straight Freddy Krueger. I don't know.
So, just last bit. Today, the Tokoloshe is a big part of South African culture. They're making headlines throughout the country regularly. The townspeople still believe that a Tokoloshe is out there, someone by someone envious of their success. Sellers of mutai, traditional medicine, who have small shops in South Africa, often sell products to protect against the supernatural being. These products include a concoction made from Tokoloshe fat. If you smear it on your skin as a repellent.
So you smear the fat of the Tokoloshe your skin and then ward off Tokoloshes, is that right?
What's that, sorry?
Are you warding off Tokoloshes with the Tokoloshe fat?
Yes.
Okay.
So a real-life encounter with the Tokoloshe.
Oh.
This happened to my late grandmother when she was a child during the early 1930s. She grew up a farm on the Orange River in a small town named Prieska in the Northern Cape of South Africa. The farmhouse was built in such a way that the front door and back door are lined across each other. You could walk through the house from the front to back with only the dinner table in your path. One summer's evening, just after sunset, she, her parents, and her 7 brothers and sisters sat down at the dinner table. My great-grandfather started to pray, giving thanks for the food they were about to have. As all kids do, my grandmother opened her eyes during the prayer. She looked around the table. Suddenly, at the front door, she saw a little man covered in hairs.
It's only a bloody Tokoloshe.
Yes. Oh, it's only a bloody Tokoloshe. Oh, it's only a bloody Tokoloshe.
Oh, he's wagging his thing around.
Oh, my God, his penis is massive. Don't you wave that thing at me, you bastard. She saw a little man covered in hair standing in the front door, no taller than 2 or 3 feet. In his hands, he had a little sjambok and a cap on his head. He looked directly at my grandmother and started to run towards the table. She began to scream with fear. Everyone at the table was bewildered because of her scream and jumped up. At that moment, everyone saw the little man run towards them. He dove under the table and ran out the back door. Fucking hell.
You walk into the kitchen table, I saw the Tokoloshe was going to be able to get right under that. He probably didn't need to dive under it, but it just ran straight through.
Yeah. I remember being a kid and the first time that I could no longer run under the table because I banged my head quite badly.
Yeah.
Everyone shaken and nobody slept that evening. Many strange things started to happen on the farm.
And then they saw the dog who had been murdered.
They saw the Tokoloshe and They saw the Tokoloshe and a pitch black dog with an extremely long tongue that would only appear at night. But as Christians and very religious, my grandparents didn't let that get them down and just gave up on their farm.
Just gave up on the farm.
Fuck it.
Fair enough, God. Still.
Yeah. Right, well, no point in trying.
Tokoloshes run through the kitchen.
Mostly black people believe in the Tokoloshes, African folklore, but I tell you, my grandmother and her family are white Afrikaners. And they saw the Tokoloshe. I think he is real. I want to thank a Reddit user, Johannes777, for letting me post this story. The story was previously posted on my horror blog, iMonster. However, I regret to inform everyone that I shut down iMonster. Good day. So, he didn't say good day. I added that.
Fair enough. Never got too jealous about the success of his blog. Tokoloshe made him shut it down.
Just gave up on the blog. Moved on. Moved into blogging Johannesburg.
Do some more praying instead.
So there you go. There's an actual story from what appears to be a Reddit
highly believable what it was.
So Neil, I think that's probably the Tokoloshe for you.
There's a lot there.
It's a water spirit or a zombie. It's summoned by. It seems to be always summoned by a witch doctor, by a jealous person. Who either then burns out its eyes and its brain, or gives it a nice fringe.
Or it's a consort for a witch. So
gives it a fringe and some cottage cheese.
And some curdled milk and a bit of self-confidence.
It can inhabit your dreams. It can make you have really nice dreams, but somehow that's killing you.
But to what end?
It'll bite your toes off or strangle you. What else is there? It hangs around with a black dog with a long tongue sometimes.
Yeah.
It sometimes wears a cape. It maybe has a really big penis and one buttock. So, I think that covers it all. So, Neil, let's go through our internationally agreed on scientific methods. Neil, spookiness, what's your score?
I'm just kind of like nonplussed, to be honest with you. There's so much. There's elements here that are kind of spooky, I guess. I mean, it's okay. So when you're asleep, you're at your most vulnerable. So having some sort of hideous creature come attack you, but I'm very confused about what its end game is and what it's trying to do. So
Well, it's trying to make your life shit.
Destroy your life, basically. Yeah, I suppose that is quite. Yeah, I suppose the notion that you get picked up by some entity that, because you hear about people like putting curses on people and things like this. I think there is.
It's kind of what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I guess it's kind of like the malevolent entity caused by almost like a sort of like curse and some. And I think the fact that it's coming from someone else's jealousy as well is quite a nice little touch. That's quite spooky. Yeah, I don't know. There's something here. I'm kind of like there's just so many little random facts mixed in, little details that. Yeah, it's quite spooky. But there's just it's kind of leavened a little bit by some of the inherently silly pieces, like having one buttock, whatever that means. So
that's we've only read that in one of the articles.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. I'm going to go for a 6. I'm going to go slightly over the 5 for this one because I think a lot of people seem to be talking about it, and it's just something invading your dreams and destroying your life. I think there is something inherently pretty creepy about that.
Yeah, I agree. The kind of little evil zombie goblin thing that attacks you while you're sleeping. I think that's spooky. I think it's. The fact that someone hates you enough to give up a soul of an unnamed, as of yet undecided loved one, they hate you that much, or they're that jealous of you. I think that's quite spooky in itself, really. That they're willing to fuck your life up. They're willing to pay with the soul of someone they care about. I mean, that's
when you go on a quest for revenge, Chris. Dig 2 graves.
Dig 2 graves. One for you, one for the Pope.
Yeah.
I think that's quite spooky. Someone eating your toes off while you're asleep, or while it's giving you like a sex dream, and you wake up and you've just got no toes.
Your toes.
I've jizzed myself and I've got no toes. I need to. This is going to take a lot of cleaning off, I tell you. That's quite spooky.
Less having to cut your toenails, so that's something.
That is something. Yeah, having to completely relearn balancing, that's the downside.
Swings and roundabouts.
giving up my career at the Royal Ballet. It's a downside. I think it's kind of spooky. It's kind of spooky, but kind of fun. But
spooky fun.
I guess as well, when people were sort of dying for no reason, which there would have been a reason. It would have been infections or disease and that kind of stuff, or possibly carbon monoxide.
Heart condition. Could be all sorts of reasons.
Heart condition, stroke. So, if you didn't know,
Tokoloshe, mate, it's very rich, very high cholesterol.
So I'm gonna give it a 7 now. So believability. Well, now, I believe that some people believe it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I believe that people. People send stuff to Robert the Doll to try and get him to do curses on people. So
this is true. We don't know how much of that is ironic, but yeah.
But this is something which is in Zulu folklore and has been for ages and ages and ages. So I believe that people believe it, and I believe that people would go to a witch doctor and a dodgy witch doctor, backstreet witch doctor, and try and get them to put a curse on other people. So I think
that's the problem, though. You go into one of those ones you just don't know who you can and can't trust. And I know everyone doesn't want to trust big witch doctor. You've got to go to a properly licensed, accredited witch doctor. They're going to do it properly. Otherwise, you just don't know. They're not going to have a professional insurer.
That would see your shares go up, wouldn't it, in big witch doctor?
No.
Don't listen to him, people.
Do right by yourself. It's a false economy.
So, I believe that people believe it. Do I personally think that there are them around? Probably not. But so for reasons unknown to man or beast, I'm giving it a 6. Neil?
Well, I think it's a similar one, and we've had this. We've said this a few times before. Is that believability isn't necessarily about whether or not we believe these things. I think it's also inherently about whether people buy into the concept. So it's, are people just spreading a story that they know is nonsense, or is there an element of actually believing it themselves? And I think there's,
it seems entrenched in the culture.
Yeah, it seems like there's something, whereas, you always get these kind of like superstitions and things that sort of can carry on for quite some time. It sounds like there might be an element of, people still thinking. And of course, it comes down to, like you'll get people saying people believe in ghosts or something like that, and it's like, well, not necessarily in poltergeists, but maybe some things do live after we die or what have you. So, I doubt that whether some of these sort of people who are talking in that article, they're not necessarily thinking about some huge donged one-buttocked gremlin, with Freddy Krueger powers, but just some malevolent entity that kind
of. But this kind of stuff, it feels to me like that kind of stuff came a bit later, and originally it probably was like a water, like a water, like a spirit,
like a Pokemon.
Spirit, like a Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the idea of kind of like it plays on basically the idea of like a malevolent entity, and it's something we see in this day and age where people they maybe can get themselves consumed by envy. I think what's quite interesting as well is the sort of, there's elements about somebody, consuming their own life with jealousy because actually they ruin their own life at the same time as they ruin someone else's. So it's obviously there's been quite a lot of thought through on that stuff, but I can see people believing in this if I don't necessarily inherently believe myself. So I'm going to give it a 7.
Reach, Neil. So just to say on the Wikipedia thing, there is quite a lot of things it's influenced. Running gags about Tokoloshe are common in South Africa's daily comic strip. Tokoloshe Man was a pop hit by John Congos and later covered by the Happy Mondays. Video for Die
Sean
Antwoord
telling me about Tokoloshes.
Evil Boy featured Tokoloshe on a late show with David Letterman. When Die Antwoord performed I Think You Freaky, they replaced the English swear words motherfucker with Tokoloshe.
Die Antwoord. Yeah, that's that ninja and what's the face in it, that South African band. Guy called Ninja. You ever heard them?
No.
You don't want to fuck with people. They were in that movie Chappie. Okay. Anyway, I've heard of them. It's a lady with a interesting haircut, and there's some geezer who just looks like he just walks around in like a wife beater and swears at the fucking camera in his South African voice.
So Tokoloshe is mentioned several times in the film The Bone Snatcher. Host Tokoloshe is a pop rap song by South African rapper Jack Harlow. Malevolent creatures called Tokoloshe appear in Michael Pavar's Chronicles of Ancient Darkness series. Belief in Tokoloshe is a major part of Gavin Hood's film A Reasonable Man. Tokoloshe is referred to several times by character in British crime thrillers Ritual and Skin by Mo Hader. Serial killer Elifasi Musumi claimed to have been influenced by a Tokoloshe. Yeah, whatever, mate. Tokoloshe appears in every episode of the third series of British TV show Mad Dogs. Tokoloshe is the full name of Tok, the mascot for English surfing and clothing company Salt Rock. The Graveling creatures in Dead Like Me are influenced by Tokoloshe. DJ and musician Steve Toshk Shelley got his stage name from a derivation of Tokoloshe. Several Tokoloshe appear in the dark fantasy novella The Flame's Burden. In a book, Taming the Tokoloshe Through Fear into Healing, a trauma survivor's true story. Gene Wolfe, Shadow of the Torturer, and there's been a film of it as well, as we know. 2020 film.
I did read that Gene Wolfe book. I didn't understand a lot of it, to be honest with you, so it's entirely possible I missed a Tokoloshe. I do remember the protagonist murdering some sort of two-headed giraffe person at some point.
So, Severian is considered to be a Tokoloshe by the Zulu shaman Azanguma. He encounters in an aerial hut in the botanical gardens.
Okay.
If that makes sense to you.
It's a strange series where basically it starts off and you think he's almost like some medieval knight or something, and then it turns out he's living in the far future, and they're all, right. I don't know, it's like, anyway, whatever. I have to go back and reread those at some point because I think a lot of it went over my head. But
Reach.
I don't recall that. Anyway, so Reach. Well, you've probably just corrected what we were my earlier answer. That sounds like it's actually penetrated quite a lot further than South Africa. Then, it wasn't something I was familiar with. But yeah, it's obviously been around quite a bit. I mean, it's obviously very, very baked into South African ethos.
It's an old one as well.
It's quite a rich one by the sound of it as well. It's been around for a very, very long time, and it's something that's influenced a lot of other things as well by the sound of it. I mean, I think it's not going to be one of your kind of like absolutely everyone would have heard of it and it's something over your head, but it sounds like it's had quite a lot of influence, even just in bits and pieces for various other things. Maybe it influenced Nightmare on Elm Street, who knows? So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6.
6. So as always, the fact that it's been around for a long, long time within sort of Zulu culture and South African folklore. We don't know how far back, but it's probably oral tradition, thousands of years. So that gives it a good reach through time. It seems really, I mean, I think everyone in South Africa's probably heard of it, if I'm honest. I think it's probably quite big. Like everyone in the UK's heard it's heard of Loch Ness Monster. It sounds like Tokoloshe. It's known throughout South Africa. It doesn't seem to have gone much further than that, really. It seems to be kind of a very South African thing. But, there's been a film of it and stuff. I'm probably going to go... I'm probably going to go 6 as well, because although it's only in South Africa, it's really big in South Africa, and also it's been around for fucking ages. So, narrative premise. Well, I mean, it's decent, isn't it? It's decent. It's playing on humans' feelings, the human fault of jealousy and status and all of that shitty stuff which we all have to deal with. It sounds like a very early sort of zombie thing, like a really early one. Like really early, maybe the earliest one. I don't know. Could be where it all started. I'm not sure. There's lots of different things. I mean, people clearly kind of talk about it still now, so it's stuck with people, hasn't it? Like, I had a sex dream. Tokoloshe's asked you. That kind of stuff. Like, so it's in like common conversation and stuff. So it's obviously got something. Getting you while you're sleeping, that's all good. And people kind of go and do weird stuff with it, like give it one buttock and a big cock. So I'm going to give it a 7 for narrative premise now. How's about you?
Yeah, I think it's quite a rich one. I think it's there's a lot to unpack here. I don't think we've even skimmed the surface really, because I think what really makes it compelling in terms of the narrative side. So it's a weird little fellow with a load of quirky little features, like it's a lisp in its cloak and it's and all the rest of it. The bodily accoutrements, but that's just like standard weird stuff for a fictional creature. But on top of that, I think what makes it really interesting is just the whole the notion as it's. I mean, all right, some people are saying when we first came into it, I thought it was just going to be some entity that come in and sort of like attack people in their sleep or something like that, fairly basic. But actually, the fact that it could potentially either be like a familiar of a witch somehow, or it's being manifested by somebody's jealousy and the price that they have to pay for that really adds a massive layer to it to me.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. The fact that you have to...
You're so consumed by jealousy, not only are you
willing to give up someone else's side.
To destroy someone close to you as well. So I think there's a lot you can do with that. So I think I'd quite be interested to see this film, actually. I think that'd be quite interesting. But let's see if we can track that down. But yeah, no, I think there's... It's interesting in the details of its own right. It's interesting because you could do an awful lot with that. You could imagine the sort of the protagonist, the antagonist, and the person who's creating it, and kind of like the things on there. So yeah, I think it's very rich. So it's going to get an 8 from me. There's a lot to do with this.
So that's given it a pretty high urban legend score of 53.
It was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Yeah,
it's higher. One of our higher ones. It's on the right-hand side of the bell curve. So, what I would say, people, is concentrate on your own life and what makes you happy. Don't get consumed by jealousy and trade off one of your loved one's souls for a waist-high zombie that gives people sex dreams and eats their toes. I mean, that's just good advice. Maybe write that down and put it in your wallet or purse. Would you agree, Neil? That's something to keep in mind for the future.
I mean,
the world would be a lot better.
You do you. If you feel that's the path you want to go down. Who am I to stop?
That's true. I shouldn't judge. If that is what you want to do, then
don't keep shame. If people like destroying other people's lives at massive cost to their own, then all part of life's rich tapestry.
To no cost to their own. That's the thing. It's a cost to someone they care about. So you're the biggest fucking shithead move in the world. I'll destroy that person's life because I'm jealous of them, and I'll give them the soul of someone I care about because I don't really care about anyone. Because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. So what happens then? Don't know. Stay tuned to the next thrilling chapter of the Tokoloshe. Because I got a feeling this one's just getting started.
Oh, I imagine so.
So if you want to let us know whose lives you'd like to destroy and who you'd be willing to give up for it, then as always, you can email us at urb.legends.podcast@gmail.com.
Or squall it in blood over our windows, that's fine.
Yeah, squall in blood.
Yeah.
Or if you've got...
preferably, not someone else.
Well, whatever.
Yeah,
you do you, man. Or if you... if there's a country or something you want us to have a look into or whatever. Anything, really. But, yeah, have a good week, everyone. We'll be back next Thursday with another hair racing. Make sure it doesn't keep you up at night. Don't listen in the dark. They're really scary. So I will say goodbye from Mr. Christopher Flynn.
And goodbye from me.
Goodbye.